Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on Thursday, May 23rd, the LA Galaxy getting ready to take on the Houston Dynamo on Saturday, the first of two home games this week in a three-game week once again. These games have become huge now because the LA Galaxy haven't gotten all the results they've wanted on the road. So what's going to happen in this next week? We're going to talk about transfers, we're going to talk about rumors, we can confirm some things, and we're going to get you ready for that Houston game for sure. To help us do all that, we're glad to have her back. Please welcome back to the show. It's Sophie, the Cannon Nicolaou. Soph, how are you doing? Oh, Soph, you're still muted. You got to unmute. You're just, it's a thing. We'll figure out. There you go. How you doing?
Here I am. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Are you speaking with your mouth full?
Of course, always. Cough drop in hand, ready to go. Or I was going to say, I was looking at the monitor. It's over here. That's right. So, yeah, like a little chipmunk over here, you know, Chip and Dale and all that stuff. By the way, I've been watching, like, the old Chip and Dale cartoons with my kid that are, like, from the 1950s, 1940s, stuff like that. And they're still good. I would like to say. I'm
so happy.
Yeah,
I'm so happy you added cartoon after you said Chippendales.
Oh yeah, this isn't the Thunder Down Under. You know, this isn't any of that. So no, absolutely, just the cartoons. You know, the one with the black nose and the one with the red nose. You know.
Yeah, those little buggers are cute.
They are. I like how they were always paired with Donald Duck, and Donald was always angry, and you know, it was Exactly. Another talent we didn't know you had, Sophie. Then once again, you've shared with us here on Corner of the Galaxy. We're good. The Rescue Rangers. People are calling out Rescue Rangers. Throwback.
Wow.
Rescue Rangers. Yeah. So anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I look very white. I've been tanning. I actually have a tan, and I look white.
I look pretty tan, and I'm super white. So like I got the farmer's tan going on. So
I'm just waiting for the Josh visit to fix my lights. Is it 2 seasons now, maybe?
Yeah.
2? Is it? Yeah.
The problem is we live too far apart. That's what it is. Even though we're probably
2 blocks away from each other.
I was going to say not very far, but yeah, we live too far. We're too close. That's what it is. We're too close.
Yeah. Well, I need a base because I'm going to England for a wedding it's actually next week.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And you like to show up in a place where it's always cold and wet with a tan and just make people jealous that you live in California.
You have to keep up the California like the myth, right? You have to
totally.
I was out laying by the pool, it's winter. I was out by the pool. It's all good. Yeah, no problem.
It's Cali, baby.
That's right. That's right. I think I got that from my parents are East Coast, from a place that you wouldn't get very tan if you were, in and around Pittsburgh, that type of thing. And whenever they would come out here, they both moved out here and they lived out here. And then whenever they would go back, they would always be like, hey, oh yeah, we're tan. We got the Hawaiian shirts on, the whole deal. It was embarrassing actually. Now that I think about it, yeah, that's good. That's good.
Were you born in Pittsburgh?
I was not. I am born in California, right here in Southern California. So yeah, not too bad.
I hate the Steelers, so that was going to really upset me. So I'm fine.
No, I tolerate NFL more than anything. I don't know that I have it. I like watching the Rams. I haven't been to a game yet at SoFi, but I don't know that I will. This whole soccer thing usually takes up most of my time. So, Let's talk about the LA Galaxy a little bit.
Let's do that.
Where do you land right now? We are rapidly approaching, by the way. Remember when we were through a third of the season and we're like, oh, this is, blah, 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 the whole deal. We're rapidly approaching the midway point of the season. 3 games this week. This is going to be after these 3 games. We're at 14 now, 15, 16, 17. 17 is halfway. We will be at a halfway point after these next 3 games. That's crazy to me that we're halfway through the season. Does that, one, where do you put the LA Galaxy so far halfway through the season, being we're almost there? And 2 is, does it make the games coming up more important?
Firstly, I can't believe that it's almost June.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, we're ready to deal with June gloom, and we've got May grey going on here. The weather's been awful, so I haven't really. It feels to me like we're still in February, March,
Right.
and to think that we're kind of in May and at this point, I think that we're going to find out a lot about this team over the next 3 games. I think we've seen glimpses of excellence, especially at the early stages. Everyone was talking about the Galaxy being back, and a lot of people discussing favorites for MLS Cup, or at least to reach the final. Then a little dip here and there. But it's really weird because I actually thought the game against Charlotte was one of their most professional, mature performances of the season.
I said that, and I got it off your comment because whenever you asked the question to Greg basically about the shape and just how they controlled the game, I was like, that's such an astute observation because there was a reason that game was boring, right? People were like, oh, that was a boring game. Yeah, because the Galaxy made it boring. They controlled Charlotte. Like, yes, Charlotte had a flash here or flash there, but when you look at the, I know you don't like XG, but if you look at the XG, you can see that Charlotte had a whole bunch of shots that had very low XG. So the shots they were taking were not high percentage shots. They were forcing them into bad positions. The Galaxy controlled it well. They just didn't have the offense. I think Greg was talking today about how they maybe cheated too much on defense in order to stay defensively compact. And then whenever they needed to get forward into offense, they would cheat forward, but they wouldn't cheat forward enough to actually get numbers in the box. It was an interesting just sort of take about how he saw like the different phases of the field. But I agree, control. That control was important, don't you think? Don't you think that was something to build off of?
I think that's something they have to learn to do more at home. If they can... there was a part, here we go, everyone. Yes, I'm going to reference Arsenal. It's inevitable. There was a part of Arsenal, right, where there's this gung-ho football. It's like Vanny ball, Arteta ball. And you have to, at some point, in order to win out games, right, sometimes winning ugly is beautiful. And you need to adapt this pragmatism. And sometimes LA Galaxy are a little bit too gung-ho in trying to go for the jugular. And if they can match how they played in Charlotte at home when they're 2-1 up,
right,
that discipline. But the difference in Charlotte, I thought, was the discipline in all of the units. It wasn't just the midfield. It wasn't just the forward line. There was discipline and cohesiveness across all of the lines. And I think that's the first time that we've seen that type of play this season. If they can adapt that, Josh, at home, I think they've got every chance of having a really successful season. And that pragmatism, hopefully they'll use as a blueprint. We did that against Manchester City. That's how we beat them. Right. All of a sudden it's like, whoa, what is this Arsenal team? Yeah. And I felt exactly the same way watching that Charlotte game as I did when I watched Arsenal play Man City.
Yeah, the Galaxy had chances in that game too. You want to talk about, sort of missed converting offensive chances. They were put in the right spots. They were put in the right places. They didn't take the best shots. They didn't convert on those chances. And because of that, that's why the score ended up the way it did. But when you go back and watch that game, there were several chances for the LA Galaxy to take the lead in that game where they didn't convert, but they were fairly tight on the backside, and they didn't allow a lot of really clear-cut chances for Charlotte. And Charlotte, not a super high-scoring team, but they have dangerous players who can play. We're going to sort of see that, I think, against Houston as we sort of look at Houston as well, which is, not a team that's going to score a bazillion goals, but they have some dangerous players. And so just looking at the overhead from this, we're almost at the halfway point. We've talked so much about the Galaxy having this tough road trip and road record, right? 9 games on the road already. It's like, that's nuts. They have 8 more games on the road the entire year, right? So, and you already have 9 through this. They haven't played a whole bunch at home. They haven't had consecutive games at home. So this is their chance. You have a Saturday, Wednesday, and that you're going to play against Houston and Dallas, two teams that are more towards the bottom of the table than they are the top of the table. You get a chance to build momentum. Hey, they got a point in Minnesota, and that was pretty good, even though they sort of came back from a winning position. You wanted them to keep those points. They didn't. But getting a point on the road in Charlotte, the third game of 3, all the way across there and the whole deal. Greg Vanny was talking about how he goes, whenever you travel that much, he goes, there's almost like this laziness feeling because there isn't stuff for you to do. Hang out at the hotel. Everybody thinks that footballers are like playing football for 8, 9, 10 hours a day. It's like, 2 hours of training, a little bit of weightlifting, and they're done. And, then they're off on their own, and you have to find things to keep them entertained and busy. So otherwise, they're just sort of like lounging around, right? There's not a lot to do.
They should listen to this show.
But hey, I think it's a great idea.
So can I just really quick, you mentioned something. This team, the next phase, the next frontier is finishing their dinner. If this team can up the ante on taking their chances and burying them, they'll be a very difficult team to beat. Yeah. That is the next frontier for LA Galaxy.
I think the Paintsville injury is going to hurt them here a little bit. So we'll watch and sort of see this. But for me, we can't go and say, these were good points on the road unless they're going to clean up at home. They need to win at home. I
100%.
I don't like need to win. I don't like, they have to win this game. This is a must win. This is not a must win coming up against Houston because those are mathematical for me. But this is a game where really you want to set off into the second half of the season. You want to close out the first half of the season well. Then you take 6 points in the first 2 games that you have whenever you play against Houston on Saturday and then Wednesday against Dallas. You do those things at home and you clean up your home points. And I almost don't care what you do in Chicago. But by the way, Chicago is a good chance to get some points as well. But those are the types of things that we need to look at, is that there seems to be mounting pressure on the LA Galaxy to win at home. And we can say, we want the nice things about them picking up points on the road. It will not matter if they don't close out points at home. And so that's why this Houston game feels like it's a big game. That's why the Dallas game is going to feel like it's a big game. These are very big games, not only 6-pointers because you're playing Western Conference opponents on each of them, but because there is mounting pressure on the Galaxy to again, climb back up that table. Getting 6-7 points out of the next 3 games would be a huge boost for their playoff chances.
Totally.
That's crazy to say in the middle of the season, but that's what it feels like, right?
I totally agree with you. You couldn't have put it better. If you can't win at home, you're not winning anything.
Right.
You'll be lucky. It's so competitive, right? Because it's stacked up there, isn't it? There's fine margins, and there always is every single season. But if you don't win your home games, you're not winning. You're putting yourself in jeopardy. The thing that I think is fundamentally important here for Greg Vanny, he does not want to become a manager who is trying to dig himself out of the I can't win at home tag.
Well, I think
it's important for him.
Super big was super important, right? The other thing is to win 3 in a row and get that off his back too, right? But getting these 2 wins, it's super important as well, because I think that there are some, and I don't think this is anything within the Galaxy organization, but I certainly think that there are fans who are pressuring Greg Vanny to show up and get points, right? I think there's going to be, you said you don't want to be Greg Vanny who can't win at home, 100%. You don't want to be Greg Vanny whose butt is suddenly on the hot seat because you have a team that is made in your image, plays the way that you want them to do, and can't get points at home because they this team has struggled at home under Vanny, and we've seen it. And a lot of times he's sort of put it down as they feel a lot of pressure. And I think the pressure's only going to mount for them at home.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
That's an excuse. I think that plays into, when all of the stuff was going on off the pitch and the players really felt it. He really felt it. Fans weren't showing up. And then if you're not winning, it just stacks up the stress. I don't think the team had any pressure at that time because the fans had zero expectations.
Yeah.
Now everything is cool off the pitch. The club is being run a lot better. You've got people who know what they're doing. They've been astute in the transfer market. They've given him everything. He has been given all of the tools to create a successful team. The pressure is on him now because the fans have expectations. That's the difference between this season and I would say the best part of the beginning of last season and the season prior. I don't think there's an escape clause for him if he doesn't make the playoffs this season. In my personal opinion, I don't like to call for anyone's job, but you can't not make the playoffs. Right. You have to make the playoffs.
Yeah, he have to. He doesn't get, and I think this is his last year. I think in his contract, so I think it's not even so much like the contract would expire. I don't think that there would be anything else. But you have to do something here, and I think the Galaxy are in a good position to do it. I've been saying that the away games have skewed the results so far, right? Which is the Galaxy are getting some points and they're doing okay. They're staying near the top in those top four spaces, right? They're right on the edge of those, and I think that they can actually climb in and get them if they get a string of home games. But again, they have to win their home games, and it's all great and fine. And I think I called it out correctly whenever they tied RSL. Yes, RSL is a really good team and is showing to be a very good team in the Western Conference, the whole deal, but that's a game you should win at home. And you fell down to them 2-0 and had to come back to score 2-2 in order to make it. Those were drop points at home. You went through a 3-game week where you knew you had 2 road games on the backside of it. You had to win that RSL game. That gives you the base to be able to go ahead and do whatever else you need. Because if you won that one, then you pick up a point in Minnesota, you're like, cool, 4 points. You pick up a point in Charlotte, cool, 5 points. No problem. 3 points, though. It's a lot of drop points whenever you do it. The Galaxy have only won twice at home so far this year. They're 2-0-3, but they are undefeated at home. That's great. And some of the teams that they've played at home, I think, have been fairly difficult teams so far. We've been looking at this part of the schedule for a little while as sort of this looks like their chance. This looks like the Galaxy's chance to pick up points. When you start to look at the schedule, when you start to say who are the teams they're going up against and where are those teams in the standings, this makes sense that this is perhaps the time the Galaxy can go. You have LA versus Houston, LA versus Dallas. You go away to Chicago. Chicago's not a good team right now. Sporting Kansas City, not a good team right now. New York City, a better team for sure. But there's a chance here in the next 4 games that really you can pick up a bunch of points, and it's incumbent upon Vanny, upon the LA Galaxy, to take the weaker parts of their schedule and run them. So they have to start winning some games in bunches.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And when you look at that schedule, could you just put that back up one more time? When you said it, really, right? That the game against
Houston, Dallas, and then Chicago,
right?
And then home to Kansas City, home to New York City. Yeah,
the toughest fixture there is Salt Lake away.
Yeah. Right? Whenever you go away to Salt Lake, away to San Jose at the Stanford Stadium is going to be
it's a Cali Classico, right?
It'll be a stupidly difficult game. That's what I expect.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, exactly. But now this is the time of the season where you can't really afford to make too many mistakes. I get the draw at home. Now you see also there's a flip side to that. The 3 points, would have been great, especially after going on the road and getting the draws that they did, Josh. But also that draw at home to Real Salt Lake could become exceptionally pivotal as we look back on the season.
Right.
To me, when you're looking at that match, you're thinking, man, okay, if they don't win, it's a don't lose game, that one.
Right.
It's the ones that came before that I think it's drop points at home.
Yeah. I mean, anytime, quite honestly, I'm more of the opinion that anytime you don't win at home, that you're dropping points, especially if you're going to masquerade as a good team, right? This isn't the English Premier League where they expect Arsenal to win all their home games. They expect, Man City to win all their home games. I don't expect you to win all your home games. I do expect that you win the majority of your home games. And you need to do that, or you need to be able to pick up points, on the road. And the Galaxy have sort of oscillated between that. They've done actually pretty well in terms of their road record. Not horrible, not great, but it's something that you can sit there and say, okay, well, they did it. They're 3-2-4 on the road right now. All right. That puts them having more points than they had through 17 away games last year. They had 12 points, and I think right now they have 13.6, 9, 13. Yes, 13 points. So they have 13 points right now through their 9 road games, and they had 12 points through all of their 17 road games last year. So again, the points per game on the road has been there. They're actually overperforming a little bit on their points per game on the road, which is kind of fun to pay attention to whenever you go and look at it. Let me see if I have that chart somewhere. I always have a chart somewhere. Away points right now, the average for LA Galaxy teams is 1.18 points per game. And right now, the LA Galaxy at 1.44 points per game. So on the road. So again, something that we're seeing, something that is trending in the right direction is those away points. You're doing pretty good, but now it's time to take care of home games. Let's
yeah. And don't get yourself in a hole at home either. Stop having to grind.
You can't. Know? If you go back and look at the LA Galaxy and when they've scored first and when they've allowed the first goal, they've only allowed the first goal once at home this season. That was to RSL, right? And then they had to come back and tie that game 2-2. Otherwise, when you look at it, home 1, 2, 3, 4. So in the other 4 games, the LA Galaxy scored first in those. And when they scored first, the Miami game was one where they scored first, and then they got a draw, right? Miami with the late draw whenever there was the Mark Delgado one there. You had a 3-3 draw with St. Louis, which was a wild and crazy one. And then let's see, home 1-0 against Seattle, that was there, and then 4-3 against San Jose.
That game was absolutely crazy. That's exactly what you were talking about. No matter the form, when it's a Classico of any kind, form goes out the window. It's a cliche for a reason, but my gosh, that game was absolutely balmy, wasn't it? Yeah,
it certainly felt that way. So that's sort of where we sit with the LA Galaxy. I'm expecting very, very big focus on the next couple games. We can talk a little bit about Joseph Paintsil first, because I think that's going to be one of the biggest things they're going to have to overcome. We did get an injury update from Greg Vanney today. Vanney says that Paintsil is very questionable for the Chicago match. Don't even count Houston. Don't even count Dallas. But that's the end of the week, too. Let's be very clear. This is only 1 week. It just happens to be 3 games in 1 week. So Paintsil not going to play in Houston, not going to play in Dallas. And basically, Vanney's telling you he's not going to play in Chicago. The thing that happens after the Chicago match is the Galaxy get basically 14 days off for 2 weeks. I believe there's an international break there. So they'll be off for those 2 weeks. They'll come in, and then they play against on June 15th versus Sporting Kansas City. That's really when they're targeting Joseph Paintsil for being back. And Vanney again today was expressing, he goes, he's like his playing his 42nd or 43rd game this year, because he started in August with his team in Belgium, and he's been going nonstop since then. And I know there's lots of people who want to dismiss that, but that's a lot of miles to be putting on legs. And so, it makes sense. I don't think they're in any hurry to sort of force him to come back. I think that they know they'll have time. My whole concern is that you have a guy, Sophie, who has 4 goals and 5 assists. He's responsible for 9 goal contributions for your team. And we know how often Ricky Puig would play Joseph Paintsil into space, and whether that would lead to a shot, or whether that would lead to a dangerous opportunity, or whether that would lead to a pass. A lot of things went through Joseph Paintsil. So that's going to be now reliant on Gabriel Peck and Diego Fagundes and a whole bunch of others. So for me, the biggest thing, and one of the reasons that we sort of seen the LA Galaxy's goal production sort of slump a little bit was, one, Joveljic wasn't playing for a couple games, and that hurts them, because even whenever he's not scoring the goals, he actually is involved in the game way more than Miguel Berry will ever be, right? So that'll be one. Can I say something about that? Let's listen. I know Berry had the wonder equalizer. It's okay to be a super sub. That is important in a team, to have a player who's ready to go and who can come on and make a difference. But he's no Dayan, all right? You see it. It's so glaring. It's so in your face. The spaces, the running, the hustling. I'm not saying Berry doesn't hustle. He actually does. He works really hard in that forward position, right? But Dayan's intelligence, his runs, even the confidence of the flank players and Puig coming in, it's night and day. Sorry, I just had to throw that in. Yeah, you can tell. I mean, there's some things that the Galaxy have to get done during the summer, and my guess is getting somebody who can at least play in the striker position as a more of a backup to Dejan Joveljic than Miguel Berry might be high on that list for me. We'll talk about some of the other ones, but it is incumbent upon the LA Galaxy to still continue to score goals even whenever Joseph Paintsil is out. So having Joveljic back is going to be big. Gabriel Peck playing on the right side. I think maybe he plays a little better on the right side. So let's hope that there's some joy there, because there wasn't against Charlotte, and you could see it a little tentative, I think, for him. You need Diego Fagundes to pick up. This was one of the reasons why you're paying Diego Fagundes, over $1 million to come off the bench, is because you need somebody, when somebody's injured, you need him to step up and act like there's nothing there. And I think that the team's really going to fall on his shoulders, coming into this as well. So the Galaxy.
I like his attitude. I really like his attitude in presses and stuff. Man, talk about players who are accountable, and he wants to win. And you could see him and Dejan, especially in that presser again after Minnesota. No, sorry, not Minnesota.
Was it Charlotte?
Was it Minnesota?
No, I think you were right. I think it was Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
The determination of the fact that they felt like they should have won that game, and they both blew chances, and they held themselves so accountable for it. I really like his attitude a lot. He's a very likable player, and I think he can be an X factor, especially as Peck is still settling in.
Yeah,
Should we say that?
He's 20, fairly? He's 22, 23. I mean, I'm waiting for him to sort of get comfortable in MLS. I don't think he's there yet.
No.
So let's see what it is. Let's get to some super chats. $2 super chat from Philip. We may have to save this one for the end. Sophie, he goes, Sophie, imitate Josh with your Donald Duck voice. So maybe save that one for the end. Okay. Let's not just blow up the internet right here. Let's make everybody wait. Sauce, by the way, $2 super chat says, "Hey Josh and Soph, who is on our discovery list?" I'm sure Mbappe is on our discovery list, right? Yeah. Who knows who else? Adam with a $5 super chat says, "Guys, I know it's early in the season, but any thoughts that the Galaxy can get a home playoff game?" I think that this next month is really important for the LA Galaxy. So let's look to see where they are. I mean, realistically, right now, with standings, I always click the wrong one. I was always so close, and then I'm so far away. Supporter Shield Galaxy in 4th right now. I mean, technically in that home playoff game, but you expect LAFC jumps them with the points per game that they have right now. So realistically, if you look at points per game, the Galaxy are in 5th and not 4th. So they're right on the edge. That's all I'll say is they're right on the edge. $5 super chat from Gary. Much love to Scott. Scott in the chat room as always. Scott going in for a procedure tomorrow to find out how he's doing, and obviously battling cancer. And Scott, we're always paying attention to you, bud, whenever you're in the chat room there. But Gary goes $5 super chat. Much love, Scott. Hoping for the best.
Best wishes, Scott. Yeah. Sending my love to you.
He says, hoping for the best tomorrow. We are all behind you, brother. We love you, brother. Listen to your body, folks. Absolutely listen to your body. Whenever you have a cough that happens every year at the same time, and you tell the doctor
what was I saying to you beforehand?
You were like, did you have a CT? I had a chest X-ray last year around this, and basically they're saying it's not in your chest. It's probably allergies, and I agree. It certainly seems to be around the same time, so that far. Jeff, by the way, $5 super chat. Josh and Sophie, who is your favorite AFC Richmond player, past or current?
I love that. Football is life.
Football. Be a goldfish.
I don't know. I love Jamie Tart.
That was going to be my. There is something though about I sort of like the old grizzled Roy Kent. I was just watching how on TikTok those stupid accounts put television shows on TikTok and then or TV show and then you scroll and you watch the scene. You're like, oh, I like this scene, and the next thing you know, you're in their account scrolling to watch a TV show you could just watch on your television without having to scroll. Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was watching. That's
the rabbit hole.
It is. It sucks you in.
Yeah, it really does. Really suck you in. I love his arc, Jamie Tart. I think he's definitely one of the characters that's had, a great arc. So yeah,
it's fun.
Go with Jamie.
I didn't like how they made Nate so mean. I really hated Nate for a while.
Oh, I love that.
I thought it was too dark. It was too dark. It's come on, dude, just grow up a little bit. Are you that? It was almost are you that immature? And the answer was yes. And
yes.
I understand.
Petty.
And
yes.
petty. Yep, absolutely. So all that. No, so we look at the Galaxy, by the way. MLS currently has them in 10th place in the power rankings, and I think the write-up is correct here. The Galaxy visited two good teams last week and earned a point in both games. Draws at Minnesota and Charlotte won't get people fired up, but they're still good results. That is a reasonable approach. They are good results, but they're only good results if the Galaxy can then take points at home from teams they're supposed to beat. And they're supposed to beat Houston, and they're supposed to beat Dallas. That's easy for you and I to say, so they're supposed to beat them, but they actually have to go out there and beat them, and do it without Joseph Paintsel. That seems to be the big sort of question. What other deficiencies are you looking at for the Galaxy right now?
So, the Paintsel thing, I get it. He started off so well, got out of the blocks beautifully. You could see he and Ricky created this understanding, this partnership, very important early on. It's like he'd been playing in the league forever and ever. Didn't miss a beat, right? Peckett's taking a little bit more time. Although I don't know if I'm seeing things, and maybe the chat can help me here, if they think I'm totally barking up the wrong tree and if it's fair or foul. But I don't know if Peck is involved as much, or the midfield or whoever's passing involves him as much.
Yes. I think two reasons. One, when he's on the left-hand side, Ricky tends to shade to the left, so he passes more to the right. It's sort of one of those where he comes on this side. I will say that. The other thing for me is that Peck is not involved as much, and they don't play him in behind as much as they do for Paintsel, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, if you want Peck to be effective, you have to get him running at goal and letting him make decisions, either one touch and shoot or one touch and pass, or get the ball in the box and make a move and try to score. So
yeah,
for me, I'm looking at Peck as you have to play him into different situations than maybe you do Paintsel, and not always hit him when he's standing still, which I feel like there's a lot of. He'll get the ball, he'll stop, he'll turn, he'll put the ball backwards. You have to find him in those gaps and get him moving towards the goal, because he has lots of speed, he has creativity, he can finish with both feet. He can finish with both feet. I know he doesn't like to, but he can. And so I think him being on the right-hand side, because I think Paintsel's going to, with Paintsel not there, he'll be able to play on the right. Fagundo's on the left. That to me makes sense. Do you feel like there's some Efrain Alvarez and Gabriel Peck? Is that fair to say?
Oh, no. I'm not getting those vibes yet. Gosh, we haven't gone down that dark road just yet. Not at all. I see a lot of potential in this guy. I think if the team played a little snappier, a little quicker, which, by the way, Greg wants them to do sometimes. He talks a lot, and we've heard him in presses say, we're a bit too slow. We've got to trust what we're doing. We've got to stick with the plan. This guy is like a road runner. Meet. Yep. He just goes. And I think that there are times where he's available for that killer run, and that only mostly happens when they're countering, not, and rightly so, of course. That's how they can take advantage of his speed a lot more. But sometimes if they just play that ball a little quicker, that dude on the turn even, running forwards, he's so fast. And I just think that they haven't unlocked that key just yet. He's like everybody up front needs improvement, but if they utilize his speed, I think we'll see the best of him, and I just don't think they've done that yet.
Yeah, I think the best of Peck is to come. I think we'll see it towards the end of this year, and I think into next year is really whenever you're going to find Peck being the guy he is. And it doesn't seem like the Paintsel injuries long term. If you didn't have 6 games in the span of 3 weeks, then you would sort of be like, oh, this isn't that big a deal. But it's a bigger deal whenever you get these bunched up games like this. The break will do them good. That 14-day break between the Chicago game and Sporting Kansas City, and that'll be whenever they get him back. So whenever they get Paintsel back. So that's it for me. But the Galaxy, as we know, transfer rumors and everything else, we talked a little bit about Marco Reus coming to the LA Galaxy on Thursday. I think it's important, on Monday, I think it's important, again, to sort of pay attention to what's going on with the situation. And sort of the big news that came out right after the podcast on Monday was that Tom Bogert was reporting that, with the discovery list, and Charlotte has Reus on the discovery list. With that discovery list, Charlotte is looking to get paid. And the Galaxy hold the record for getting, I think, the most allocation money for a player whenever Paul Arriola went to DC United. DC United paid the LA Galaxy $500,000. Well, Bogert says basically that they're looking for well over $500,000, whether that's $750,000 or whether that's $1 million, I don't know, but well over $500,000. So if the LA Galaxy were going to go after Reus, there's a lot of money that they would have to pay Charlotte in order to get it. And then is it worth it? You're still looking at a guy from, Kevin Baxter's reporting on Monday night that is going to be a TAM player or a non-DP player. He comes in at 35 years old. I've got a bunch of people telling me that, oh, he has a history of injuries and all this. I mean, he does, but he's also been fairly healthy over the last 5 years as well. So, I mean, you know, the whole deal, especially as you get older a little bit, you have to sort of watch that. So
this is probably the healthiest he's been in his career for a long time.
It feels like it. And I think it's reduced workload from so you know, that's sort of what the idea that we're talking about, that Royce isn't a guy who you need to depend on to start every game, but he's a guy who you want involved in most games, I imagine, if you're the LA Galaxy. We were sort of talking before we started. I'm like, hey, can you imagine him coming in the 60th minute? And that's who you're going to the bench for. That's not horrible.
I mean, if Luis Suarez can play every game, Royce can. I mean, I know I said, I can't remember what player it was. Of course, not Diego Costa. Costa, when Costa came.
Oh, Douglas Costa?
Douglas Costa. And I said to you at the start when we signed him, he is without kicking a ball, he's the best player on that team. We didn't see the best of him, but we saw some of it.
Glimpses,
right?
Yep, every once in a while.
Glimpses,
understood. Yep.
Yeah. Other than Ricky Puig, Marco Royce is he's the second best player already on that team. Right. It's not even an argument. He's a very special. There were a number of seasons where we Gunners were desperate to sign him.
Right.
He was the perfect. It went more so towards the end of, you know, Wenger and his reign. He's a sweet footballer, and he's versatile. You were talking about him, you know, being the Swiss Army knife. And I think he fits in. And not only that, but I think LA Galaxy could use a bit of a, listen, I'm not for come here in the twilight of your career and collect a check.
Right.
And he's not. Right. He's worth the
1.4 million or whatever, and plus
totally.
whatever you have to pay Charlotte. Okay.
You're not splashing out like 4 or 5 million for him. And it would be good to get a name. Now, I know it's not Messi and it's not Suarez, but Marco Royce is a Rolls-Royce footballer. And I think, you know, Ricky came, but people really didn't know. I don't care what anyone says, unless you're a football fan.
Right.
People didn't really know Ricky.
No, we could put, but I mean, I'll say the same thing. But the level to which I always get, try to measure this is, does my mom know who this person is, right? You know, like David Beckham, yes. You know, Landon Donovan, yes. The whole deal. Robbie Keane, no, at the time, right? No, at the time. Eventually, yes. Yeah, I know that Robbie Keane. Yeah, you didn't whenever he showed up, Mom. I know. So Robbie Keane, but it's like, you know, Marco Royce. He is still, I think, a footballing fan. Like if you just follow football, you know, even a little bit, you know who Royce is, and that's where it's sort of important. You will see he will draw the Germans into Dignity Hill Sports Park. You know, he will be the guy who will put some butts in seats and that type of thing, which I think you still need. Still need a little glimmer, a little glam here in La La Land, right?
Yeah.
But I think that overall, and as it was pointed out to me, was, you know, does he make this team better? That's the question that you have to ask yourself. Does he make this team better? And I think you answered it, and I think the LA Galaxy think the same thing, unequivocally yes. And that doesn't mean you rely on him to start every game. And by the way, people are asking how you get discovery rights. I think you write down the name. I think that's how that works.
I asked you the same thing before we came on air.
Yeah. So somewhere somebody has my discovery rights. I'm sure they just wrote down the name on a piece of paper. I forget. You get X number of players you can keep on the discovery. I think maybe it's only 5 now that you can keep on it, and nobody else can have that person on there. And that means basically you get the right of first refusal. And the deal is that you can't just say, well, we're not interested in signing him. So Charlotte says they're very interested in signing him, even if he has no want to go to Charlotte. Charlotte says that they want it. So that means now they get something for it. So I don't know if they're really serious about it or not, but regardless, they're going to try to get the money from the LA Galaxy.
Could we get someone at LA Galaxy to write Saka's name down right now?
Why not? I bet somebody already has his name written down. Like, that's the crazy. Somebody had Messi's, discovery rights. Somebody has Mbappe's discovery rights, right? It's like all this stuff. It's like, come on, really? You playing that? It's supposed to be that way. There's not competition. But there's still competition within the league. We know that for players and everything else. So we'll see where that goes. That was sort of the interesting take, that Charlotte wanted a lot of money, and basically the idea is they're going to get a lot of money if they don't sign him, and if they don't land him, then with that money they can go out and get somebody as well, right? So they're making a deal either way.
What vibe are you getting from the fans on him? Do you think they'd be excited about Marco Royce?
Our chat room is generally pretty excited. I think they're on it. I would say Reddit is more mixed, but that makes sense. Facebook, the people on Facebook would say, well, the people on Facebook rarely get let out of their padded cells, so that's probably not the correct people to ask there. I would say in general, people will be like, I don't think they understand it yet. And there's a lot of things, and I don't think I helped because I tweeted out, oh, well, as far as I see, you have to get rid of Ricky Puig in order to bring in Marco Royce.
Oh, dear.
And, like, the whole deal, because I'm thinking he's a designated player. Like, the guy made $7 million last year. At 35, I don't think that the Galaxy would want to bring in a designated player at 35. I'm like, a lot of things don't really fit for me. And then whenever I got the puzzle pieces sort of put together, you're like, oh, well, nobody has to go anywhere. Well, then, yeah, you want them. If anybody learns anything on this show, and I hope we've preached this hard enough, because this is something, Sophie, that I think is so important, is that any player can be a good deal or a bad deal. It depends on how much you're paying them. And so, Marco Royce at $7 million a year, no, I'm good. Thanks. Have a nice day. Yeah, 35 years old, no. And you're going to have to get rid of another designated player? Nope, doesn't make sense to me. Why are you building this to only tear it down? No, that would be horrible. Marco Royce has a max TAM, 1.4, 1.5, $1.6 million. Okay, I'm listening now. Now all of a sudden it's a good deal, right? It's like, okay, now I see the benefit and everything. That's why when we go over the salaries, it's important to put that in. So many people give Eric Zavaleta so much crap, and I'm like, you have a serviceable center back, and he makes league minimum. Like, do you understand how often he gets called in? Not all the time, but he'll get called in to save something, and he usually does an okay job with it, and he makes no money. That is a valuable asset to have on your team. So you always have
if LAFC could do it, right, with
Chiellini, with Bale,
right?
Yeah. No, I mean,
I think it's a good deal.
It fits very similar to what Will Kuntz has, I think, been telling us for this, which is we can still add those big names. It's just not going to be as a designated player. So I tend to like that. Now, there's another deal that's going on with the LA Galaxy. This for Marcus Vercranis. Marcus playing down with G2/Ventura County Football Club. He's been playing down there. I can confirm that he will move to Australian side Brisbane Roar on a free transfer from the LA Galaxy. This is, I think everybody's sort of pretty excited about all this, which is kind of fun to pay attention to. I'm excited to see a young American footballer go to Australia and probably get some good playing times. That way I can sort of measure what the Australian league is looking like. And it's sort of fun. I generally, whenever players move away from the LA Galaxy, tend to follow a little bit. So I'm glad that I get to follow into the Australian league a little bit. So that'll be fun there as well. Somebody asked me why.
You're just going to watch the highlights, though, because you won't be up. Yeah.
No, I won't be up. No, that's not not going to happen. With Vercranis, I think there's a lot of football left for him to play. He clearly is a talent, but now he gets to go and do it against the big boys on a regular basis, and I think that's good for him. I think for the Galaxy side of things, people ask, they're like, well, why didn't the Galaxy get any money? And I never know the answers to that. I don't know why. I don't know what makes Marcus Vercranis. Probably because they were like, the Galaxy are like, well, we could get him off our books, and he needs somewhere to get playing time. And if he's excited about it, and we actually think that might be a really cool place for him to go and develop as a young man and sort of, turn into the adult that he's going to be. And who knows, whenever he's 25, 26, he comes back as a much more developed player, and he comes into the LA Galaxy, and maybe they have him and he's a bench player for the LA. Like, there's so many things that can sort of progress here that I think it's more about goodwill than it is about trying to get any big amount of money. He's 18 months, I think. Him and Jalen Neal both 18 months from their contracts being up. So to me, it seems like everybody's happy with the move. That's what I get the general thing, and it's not like the fans. I think
it's cool. It's cool. Like if the club are helping him and he wants to go, I think these things are important sometimes. Sometimes it's not about the money, especially if you can't get too much money. Make a good deal, move on.
Somebody told me in a text chat, they were like, man, somebody would pay me to go move to Australia and play soccer for a living. Like, I'm in, the whole deal. It is like, man, I want to go to Australia. That seems like a cool place to go to. Have you ever been to Australia?
No.
Okay.
Never.
Me neither.
My parents been there 4 times. Because we have a huge Greek family, as you can imagine,
yes,
in Adelaide and Melbourne and Sydney.
Really?
And massive. Yeah.
Is that a thing? Do the Greeks go to Australia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's far away, but we've got, when people left Cyprus back in the day, and during the 74 war,
Okay.
some of the family went to England, some went to South Africa, some went to Australia and America, the East Coast.
Right.
And Australia has a massive, massive Greek population.
I'm learning stuff. This is why I always like it. I had no idea there was a massive Greek. Is it similar climate, or is it like?
It's very like California.
Okay.
And I mean, their summers are Christmas and it gets super, super hot. Of course, if you're in the bush, mate, Stroth, you don't want to end up there, that's for sure. Especially if you don't have your Castlemaine 4X. It gets really, it's like Vegas, getting stuck in Vegas, right?
Right. Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, my cousin Tony and I, it's our next massive, massive big trip will be. And when you go, you've got to go for like 3 weeks minimum.
Well, yeah, because it's like 18 hours to get there, and then there's the whole time difference. You're going to lose like 2-3 days on either side just trying to get adjusted. You gotta go for a while. I agree.
Yeah, you've got to go. And with my family, my big fat Greek family, they want to. My cousin wants me to stay here and there. The good thing for us is that we've got somewhere to stay. So you take out the hotel accommodation, you save quite a bit of money. You can have a lot of fun out there.
Yeah.
Let's all go.
Let's all go. COG trip to Australia. Sounds good. No. So that's what it is for Marcus Furcanis. Some people were estimating that maybe it would be a loan deal. It's not a loan deal. Free transfer, permanent transfer. I haven't heard if there's any sell-on clauses or anything like that. I don't imagine there is, but you could always watch that. For the LA Galaxy and their side of things, just on the bookkeeping side, oh great, that didn't work at all. I was printing out all the stuff and it's not going to work even a little bit. Okay, good. But for Kranis, I think it was about $178,000 roughly in there for his salary, playing down with the G2/VCFC side. So, I don't know how big that is for Brisbane. And I want to see if he's going to get first team minutes. I want to see if he's going to get a chance to play on a regular basis. I think he's going to, just by.
Yeah, I bet he does.
I'm excited to sort of watch that and see how it is. So I don't know when that's going to be official. I haven't heard. I don't think anybody's in a super big hurry, but that's probably something that's going to happen whenever the transfer window's open in the summer. And so everybody will rock and roll whenever that goes. So. Those were the two transfers.
Catching your allergies, dude.
I know. This is it's the pollen. It's the ragweed. It's the
what weed?
The ragweed. I don't know.
What's that?
I don't know. It's what people say. I don't.
Is it like tumbleweed?
No. Tumbleweed is Russian, right? So tumbleweed is the name of the plant. It's called Russian thistle. Is what tumbleweed actually is. And I believe it came from like out on the steppes in the like Russian like deserts, right? Where there's not things, but it's like that stuff is at the train club. I am constantly battling with Russian thistle, which is tumbleweed, and it is the craziest plant you've ever seen, Sophie. The craziest. It is those tumbleweeds. You know why they roll? They grow up out of this root that's only about like an inch and a half long, and it roots into the ground, and it's really strong. But then it comes up and it like grows out into this bulb, this bulbous thing with all these branches and limbs on it. And then whenever it dries out, it breaks off basically at that one root point that's just in there, not that much. And then what happens? It just rolls, and that's how you get. And then it rolls all over the place, and it can like migrate across thousands and thousands of miles.
Wow. Well, when it rolls over you, does it still have those things? Like, is it like a prickly pear?
It can. Yeah. Funny enough, we were so off the rails, but that's okay. We're actually on the rails because I'm talking about trains. We were doing a birthday party and the wind picked up and we had a bunch of tumbleweed out there. And and I was conducting, so I was watching the passengers and I'm like, hey, you're going to have to go faster or stop. And I go, because we're about to get hit by some tumbleweed. And so I had to go run and like throw myself in front of the tumbleweed so it didn't hit people on the train. And I got little like pricklies. Yeah, I'm a hero. That's the moral of the story here. Is I saved lives.
I thought they were soft and like pleasant and when you see them in the movies, you're like, oh, that's so romantic. Look at the little tumbleweeds just
there was
rolling around.
There was a video on Twitter and it was like and it was like Las Vegas. And they're like, when the tumbleweeds hit and they saw these tumbleweeds rolling down the street and there are all these big things. The video was from right next to the train club on the main street there. I recognized it immediately. I'm like, oh, I know where that is. The whole deal. But that's like how it is. If you hit one with your car, they like explode into like little pieces. It's weird.
Wow, that's cool.
It's yeah. There's somebody just said they explode when you hit them with your car. 100% true. They explode when you hit them with your car. They're just,
wow.
And you'll hear them, and they can scratch the paint and stuff like that. But it's actually really light. The wood itself like dries out, so they're heavier than you think they are, and they're also lighter than you think they are. They're in this weird sort of space. You're like, well, that could be really heavy or really light, and it's kind of in between. So anyway,
wow, who knew tumbleweed was so like layered and
Russian
deep?
thistle. And it's extremely hard to kill. Just letting
Spies.
you know. Yeah, I'm telling you. Anyway, there's your tumbleweed lesson for the day.
We both learned something. We always, I tell you, this show never ceases to amaze me.
Me. So, yeah, sharp and spiky. Yeah. So 100%. Let's get to the Supporters Shield standings right now. Miami 31 points, Cincinnati 30, Salt Lake 28, Minnesota 24, New York City 23, New York Red Bulls 23, Toronto 22, Austin 22, LA 22, LAFC 21, Colorado 21, Charlotte 21, Columbus 21, Vancouver 19, Houston 18. That is your Supporters Shield standings. When we look at the Western Conference, the LA Galaxy currently sitting in fourth, 22 points, just 6 points behind Real Salt Lake. Same number of games. Minnesota is the one, though, with 12 games played at 24 points that you sort of want to keep your eye on. I think they're going to jump a little bit, and they've been playing decently enough, so keep your eyes on them. We've talked about the schedule already, Soph, but it is here. You can pay attention to it. Houston and Dallas this week. Again, just 4 days after the LA Galaxy play on Saturday night, they will play on Wednesday against Dallas. So that'll be an interesting time. And then they wrap up that 3-game trip with a trip to Chicago, a struggling Chicago side. Just some games that are going on. Atlanta hosting LAFC, Charlotte hosting Philadelphia, DC United versus Chicago, Nashville visiting Montreal, New York City visiting New England Revolution, Caleb Porter, Kurt Analfo, all those fun things. Bruce Arena left there. Absolute S show right now. You should really watch it. Like, yikes. Orlando hosting Columbus, Toronto hosting Cincinnati, Dallas hosting RSL, St. Louis hosting Seattle, Colorado hosting Minnesota, LA hosting Houston, Portland hosting Sporting Kansas City, San Jose hosting Austin, and Vancouver hosting Miami. Those are your games coming up. So let's get you ready for this Houston game. LA Galaxy taking on the Houston Dynamo, 7:30 p.m. on Saturday, May 25th. The game can be found on Apple TV and MLS Season Pass, but we expect that you will be at this particular game. The Galaxy have lots of fun stuff in order. The Galaxy 16 wins, 14 losses, and 11 draws to Houston overall. Go back over the last couple games. 0-0 draw in 2023 at the end of September. That was at home. Galaxy winning once and then losing once in Houston in their last 2 games that they've played there. So if you're looking at Houston, sort of trying to understand where they are in the standings, coming off a 1-1 draw with Dallas, not a lot of like really signature wins, but they've been doing some damage on the road. 2-1 over Sporting Kansas City, 2-1 over Minnesota. So they were able to win 2 games there on the road. And the bottom line is that when you look at their schedule, they have a game against Colorado, midweek. And so you would expect that maybe that home game midweek against Colorado is more the one they're paying attention to than maybe the game against the Galaxy on Saturday night. What do you make of this particular game?
You all right, mate? You all right there? Yeah. Okay, so for me, this is, and I think for everyone, it's not even one of those must-not-lose games. This is a must-win game. Houston are good side. They're very well organized. I would say a little what I was saying about LA Galaxy against Charlotte, pragmatic. But this season, I think LA Galaxy, it's undeniable. They're a superior force. I know there's not much in it right now in terms of the position, 5th to 8th. But this is a game that LA Galaxy must win, and they should win. They're the better team, not only on paper, but in terms of how we've seen them play this season. So I expect them to win this. They'll concede. I'm sure they'll concede a goal, but I can see them winning this like 3-1.
It feels that way. It feels like one of those. Let me tell you about your referee, and Edgar over at News Across the Galaxy doing a great job as always. Your referee is Alan Chapman. Chapman has refereed 240 MLS matches, including 23 with the Galaxy. Galaxy have won 8, lost 10, and drawn 5. With the Galaxy at home, he has refereed 14 matches, resulting in 7 wins, 5 losses, and 2 draws. He's called 2 matches between Galaxy and Houston, and both of those were wins for Houston. So that is your refereeing. For me, so I look at this, and they don't score a lot of goals, and you can sort of look at their winger, Aliu, who has 4 goals, and he's sort of their main guy on the left hand side. You got Carrasco in there, you got Herrera. Daniel Steres, a little name from the past, so Dan Steres should be in attendance and playing for. Always love me some Dan Steres, always will. Steve Clark in goal for Houston, under a always interesting Ben Olsen in terms of the teams. His teams compete, and they may not be the perfect tactically that you want them to be, but his teams always compete. And so Houston coming in here with a big thing. I mean, I agree with you. I think 2-1, 3-1 is where the Galaxy should put this game. I think they should shut it down early. I've been begging them to shut down a game early. Just let it happen. I mean, MLS isn't really built for it.
We thought we did that against San Jose, and that didn't work out, did it?
And the only game that they really have done that to is the San Jose game when they were up in San Jose, where they were able to shut it down early and do all those things. Right. So, a lot of stuff. Let's get you some of the stuff that's happening at the LA Galaxy for this game.
Who's the DJ?
There is, I will tell you in a second, pregame party at Galaxy Park, basically from 3:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. for Saturday's match. Can take part in a wide range of family-friendly activities, along with drinks and music before the stadium gates open. There's the pregame and halftime DJ set from DG So Super Sam. So Super Sam? Yes, So Super Sam. I don't know. This is not my,
Man, I don't know him. I did know, on Z Trip was one of the DJs a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I had actually worked with him on a documentary a few years ago, Top Fella and Top DJ, and I'm bummed I missed that. So I have no idea who this DJ is. Maybe the kids could tell us.
It's SOSUPER, So Super Sam. So Super Sam. So Super
Sam.
So Super Sam.
Super. Yeah, Sam Super.
I don't know. In addition to the halftime DJ set, Fiji Airways will be giving away 2 round-trip flights to one lucky fan. Oh, dude, that's where Fiji, man, why can't they should do that for the reporters every once in a while. That would be nice. The merchandise, one of the big things that's going on, the LA Galaxy are commemorating Asian American Pacific Islander AAPI Heritage Months with their 3rd official Japangelist collaboration. So there's a whole bunch of stuff, and there's been videos out there, and that's always fun to see Maya and
that's cool.
And Miki. And then at the LA Galaxy home game in the store, they will actually do Maya Yoshida and Miki Yamane, their names in Japanese on their jerseys for this, which is super. I mean, come on.
I would like that jersey.
Isn't that fun? And by the way, somebody was saying that Soccer Warehouse will also do it. Like So people on our Discord were asking, hey, can I get Pooja's name in Japanese? Like the whole deal. And I think that would be fun too, like just having to do it. But apparently Soccer Warehouse also will do some of this stuff. But this is for Miki and for Maya. This will be available whenever you go to the game. There's Soccer Fest going on, as we've talked about. There's LA Galaxy Foundation stuff that is out there. There's extra time at the post match in the American Express Stadium Club, which I walked through on my way down to the press conference afterwards. So it should be a lot of fun. Expecting a good 7:30. There's the Hammer always says it, Sophie. There's nothing better than a 7:30 p.m. game on a Saturday night at Dignity Health Sports Park. It is an absolute electric atmosphere, and I'm assured that the stadium will be packed. So that's what's coming up for all of this. All right.
And a long weekend. What a great way to kick off a long weekend.
Yeah, it is. I'm super looking forward to 3 days. That's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of trains going on over the weekend, Sophie. That's for sure.
My nephew's coming. Remember, June.
Yeah. Okay, I'm in.
Going to be riding that train.
Like I need a reason to get out there.
I need a reason to get out there.
Yeah. Adam, by the way, $2 super chat. Do you know when they'll release Pooja's new contract? I have no idea. I don't know that they ever will. Scott, by the way, always in our thoughts here. Scott, hoping you're feeling better. Good luck tomorrow. $5 super chat. Thank you for all the support, everyone. Love the show. It's my escape from my head. Let's go, Jesus. This is actually the escape from my head too, Scott. What do you know? So Good. I'm glad we're on the same page there. I think that does it for the super shots. The only other one was, you trying to do your impression of me as Donald Duck, which I think is hard to pull off. Aaron would also like to say that, is that somebody with a fake British accent trying to do Donald Duck? So that was one of the things I think that he said earlier. So I just wanted to repeat that to you.
Yeah,
so,
no problem. I had to mute for a minute because Big Ben was going off. I
understand the English and their clocks. That's how it works. But yeah, so
I would like to try maybe I should practice first.
It's just you and me here. Nobody else paying attention. You can go to I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this stuff. I never know, like, is everybody laughing with me, Sophie, or are they laughing at me? I think
they're laughing at me. There must be. That was bad, no?
No. They will love you. There's already people who have fallen off their chairs. There's probably people going to the emergency room right now because they fell off their chair and hurt themselves. So that was the whole deal.
I love how you intro the show. I mean, I was trying to get the
growl, the growl. Yeah, little Mr. T.
Yeah.
It is funny. We always joke about this. Everybody has a radio voice. I mean, when you go, and my wife gets so mad if I ever use my radio voice, like with her. Like I'll be saying something, she's like, "Knock it off." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "That was your radio voice," So
why? What do you? I'm gonna go out and barbecue. Yeah, I'm gonna barbecue.
Tonight on the menu.
Hot
dogs and hamburgers. Yeah.
It's Josh Guesman.
Yeah. I don't know what to say anymore.
You're a legend, mate.
You are. It's not me. Somebody, by the way, also said, "Hey, in order to keep the show a little bit shorter, could Sophie give us a list of the celebrities that she hasn't worked with?" It's like that. Maybe that one's shorter than the ones than the ones you're like, "Oh, well, this one time when I was with Sean Connery, the whole deal." I know. I know. See, that's
Tony did the other day. We were watching a movie, and I can't remember what movie it was, and I said, "Oh, it was random. It was some Urbanak, this actor," and she's like, "What the heck?" And she said, "Is there anybody that you haven't worked with?" And I go, "Yes, there are actually. Yeah. I never worked with Al Pacino.
Right.
Never worked with Robert De Niro.
That's it.
George Clooney, I've never worked with. I've seen him. I've seen them, but I've never worked with them. Never looked after them for a movie.
Right. Rob Lowe?
Stuff like that. Oh, gosh. I never worked with Rob Lowe, but I was at a screening in London and I'll show my age here now. It was a Ridley Scott film, 1492, Conquest of Paradise, right? And we always go to these media screenings because you see the film before it comes out. And sitting right in front of me was Rob Lowe. And when I was young, I know I bat for a certain team. However, everyone used to bat for Rob Lowe when they were a teenager.
That one crosses lines. That one crosses lines. I could have a poster of Rob Lowe in my room. No problems. Him and Justin Timberlake, sure, not a problem.
Justin Timberlake, not for me, but Rob Lowe, and I had to speak to him. I don't usually do that. I do, but I literally had to say something to him.
Awesome.
I was like. Yeah.
No, I mean, occasionally you're like, I'm never going to get this chance again. Like, I need to say, I'm going to say hi,
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. Exactly.
100%. Exactly. All right. Anything else? We good? I think we wrap it up.
No, I'll tell you a Joel Schumacher, Robin Wright Penn story next show.
Oh, we're on pins and needles. Can't wait. I'll see you on Saturday night. Can't wait to see you.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to,
Yeah, exactly.
I knew.
You knew. Hey, you were there. You knew. Perfect. All right, awesome. Well, hopefully we'll see everybody on at the game on Saturday. I will be there. Sophie will be there. Can't wait to see you. Come by and say hi to us at the top of 108, bottom of the press box stairs. We will be there. They yell at us constantly because we have too many people, and I would like to continue that. So bring as many people as you can. Let's see if we can block the whole walkway. I want them to get angry at the fact that we have such a good following, and you guys always do a great job there. So I think 3-1 for the Galaxy. What did you say, 3-1?
3-1.
3-1. Okay, good. We're in agreement. So 100%. By the way, Scott, $2 super chat says, "Love it, Sophie." See, you're always the Donald Duck and everything else. It was a lot of good stuff. So, the world famous COG halftime meetup, as Mr. Provino says, world famous. You can just name everything world famous. Absolutely, 100%. All right, so tell people where they can find you, and we'll go.
Give us a follow at Highbury Squad for those interested in Premier League and Arsenal. And I'm at Soccer Diva on the old X. Starting to call it X now. Thanks to everyone in chat. I tell you something, you are some of the best community of any podcast I ever go on. Respectful, polite. I love you guys, and thank you for always being fun and supporting me too. Josh, you're the man.
Awesome. So thanks. We appreciate it. If you're looking for me on Twitter and X, it's at Guesman at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com where you can find all of our wonderful stuff. You can find our podcast anywhere you're looking. And of course on YouTube, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Send us a super chat. We appreciate your super chats. We will catch you on Saturday night as the LA Galaxy take on the Houston Dynamo. For Miss Sophie the Cannon Nicolaou, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening. You've been watching to our little Corner of the Galaxy. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye.